Good. All right, well, Boker Tov one and all, and those joining us by live stream, we had a couple of missed heartbeats as we try to get you to join us, and we hope there are some of you out there. So, as always, we start with Matovu, page 30. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkanotecha Yisrael. Vani barov chastecha vovetecha, ishtachavel chehal kodshecha beyeratecha. Adonai ahavti me'om beitecha, kol mishkan kvodecha. Vani ishtachave v'yachar evracha lifnei Adonai osi, v'ali tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon, Elohim barav chasdecha, aneni be'emet yishecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzarenu b'chokhmah v'ro nekavim nekavim halalim halalim. Galui v'yadua lifnei chesecha b'recha, shim yefatecha echad mehem oisatem echad mehem, ye'efshar leikreem lamod lefanecha. Baruch atah Adonai rofei chol basar mafli lasot. Elohai neshama shnatata b'torahi, ata varata ata yitzata ata nefachta bi, v'ata m'shamra b'kirabi, kol zaman shahan shama b'kirabi. Modeh ani lefanecha Adonai Elohai v'Elohei avotai v'imotai, ribon kol ha'masim adon kol hanshamot, Baruch atah Adonai, asher b'yado nefesh kol chai v'roach kol basar ish. And for those that wish, please rise for Nasim B'chol Yom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan zachvivina lachavim ben yom uvein layla. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokev kafufim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechim b'tzadei gaver. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotein le'oif koach. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavir shana manai mami afapai. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesali b'tzelem Elohim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani ben chorin. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani Yisrael. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozeh Yisrael b'gvura. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oteh Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. V'harev Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha b'finu v'fim chabat Yisrael, v'nihiyeh anachnu v'tzetzeinu v'tzetzeim chabet Yisrael, kulanu yodei shemecha lodei Toratecha lishma, Baruch atah Adonai, hamalamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. אלו דברים שהם לכם שיעור שאותם אוכל פריתם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לא לעולם הבא, ואלו הן כיבוד אב ואם, וגמילות חסדים, והשכמת בית המדרש הערבית והערבית, והכנסת אורחים, וביקור חולים, והכנסת כלה, וביאת המת, ועיון תפילה, ואהבת שלום בין אדם לחברו, ותלמוד תורה כנגד כולם. Kaddish de Rabbanan, page 46. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabah. Bi'alamadi v'rach irutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayedechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yamaru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabah mavarach le'olam alaleinu maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitramam v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei d'kudasha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalama v'yimru. Amen. Al Yisrael v'al Rabbanan v'al Tamidei Hon, v'al kol Tamidei Hon, v'al kol man daskim baraita, di v'yatar hadein v'di v'chol arta v'yatar. Yehei lahon l'chon shalam araba, china v'chista v'rachamim, v'chayim aruchim umzonei v'richei umkana. Min kadamu v'chondish maya v'yara v'yamaru. Amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim tovim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamaru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu barachamav yasei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yamaru. Amen. Pasuke de Simra, page 50. Baruch Shema v'haya holam Baruch hu, Baruch oseh v'reishit, Baruch omer v'yoseh, Baruch kozerum kayim, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch mashalem sachatov l'reyav, Baruch haliad v'keyam l'netzach, Baruch podel atzmil Baruch shemo, Bishvachot v'zmirot neged lacha v'shebrachacha v'neferacha, v'nazkir shimcha malichacha malkeinu Eloheinu, Yachid he'olamim, melech v'shavu amfarei ad shemo hagadol, Baruch ata Adonai, melech mechulal v'tishbachot. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabah, Bi'alama divrach irutei v'yahamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayedechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'yizman kari v'yimaru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabah mavorach le'olam olmei maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitramam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei d'kudasha barichu li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran bi'alama v'yimaru. Amen. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam voed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir v'nizkei kulana mechero le'ero. Baruch ata Adonai yotzer hamarot. Ahava rabat Adonai. Uvanu v'chata v'keratanu shimcha hagadol selabe met l'chodot l'cha yehedacha b'yahava. Baruch ata Adonai habocher b'yamo Yisrael b'yahava. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol avavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשפתך ובקומך, וקשתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטות ענפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליכם, ועשו לכם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף פתיל תכלת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבביכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריכם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם באמת. תהילות ליל עליון ברוך ומבורך, משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. שירה חדשה שיבחו גואלים, לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמלכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. צו ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובטחנו ממך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Tefillah begins on page 76. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei HaKol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imot, u'mevii gula livnei bnechem laman shemo bi'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך Ata Adonai Machaye Hametim. Nekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, Kakatuf al yad naviecha, V'kara ze el ze v'yamar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Maloch al haaretz kavodo. L'matam baruch el meheru, Baruch kavod Adonai mimakomo, uvdivrei kodshecha katuv le'mo, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai yichtzion, L'dor v'ador, Hallelujah. L'dor v'ador nagid gorlecha, U'lanetzach nesachim k'deshach nakdish, V'shebacha Eloheinu b'pinu mo Yerush le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. And we now continue silently through page 100. Yehi ratzon imrefi v'gion lebi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali. O say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imaru. Amen. We now move to page 104 for Seder Kriyat HaTorah. Ki mitzion tetze Torah, ki mitzion tetze Torah, udavar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato, Gadlu Ladonai iti, Unromama Shemo Yachdav. So today's parasha is Yitro, and Bobby is going to be reading it for it. I didn't line up anyone to do the Aliyah. Lauren, it's been a while since, are you able to do it, or should I finger someone else?
I am able to do it, but I just got here, so
Okay, so we will let you catch your breath, and
sorry.
maybe I'll get Arthur. How about you doing it as my thank you for us swapping leading minions? So we'll call Bobby and
Thank you,
then
John.
Arthur. Tamod likriat haTorah Rivka bat Moshe ve'Esther Yamod livracha Acharon Yitzhak ben Shlomo v'Sara
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bochar banu mikol ha'amim v'noten lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayishma Yitro Chohan Midyan Choten Moshe Et Kol Asher Asa Elohim LeMoshe ULYisrael Yotzi Adonai et Yisrael miMitzrayim vayikach Yitro choten Moshe et Zipporah eshet Moshe achar shiluchea v'et shnei banea Asher Shem Ha'echad Gershom Ki Amar Ger Hayiti Be'eretz Nachriya V'Shem Ha'echad Eliezer Ki Elohei Avi Bezri Vayatzileni Mecheref Paro Vayavo Yitro Chotan Moshe Uvanav Ishto El Moshe El Hamidbar Asher Hu Chonesham Har HaElohim Vayomer El Moshe Ani Chotencha Yitro Ba'elecha Ve'ishtecha U'shnei vaneha imach Vayetze Moshe Likrat Choteno Vayishtachu vayishaklo Vayishalu ish l'rechu l'shalom Vayavohu ha'ohela Vayasaper Moshe l'choteno Et kol asher asa Adonai lefaro Mitzrayim al odot Yisrael et kol hatla asher mitzaatam baderach vayatzilem Adonai Vayichad Yitro al kol hatova Asher asa Adonai LeYisrael Asher hitzilo miad Mitzrayim Vayomer Yitro Baruch Adonai Asher hitzil etchem miad Mitzrayim u'miad Paro Asher hitzil et ha'am מתחת יד מצרים.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher notan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam notah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Yashikoch, Bobby, and Yashikoch, Arthur, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we return the Torah, metaphorically, to the Ark, I'd like to do a Mishaberach for healing. Mishaberach Avotenu v'imotenu Avraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yavarech et HaCholim. Names people would like to mention at this point.
Linda Sifkin,
Esther Batsara.
Mention Jean Angus. Hopefully Jean is improving.
Bernice Boygan.
Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yamalech Rachamim Aleichem V'lachalema U'v'lacharatam U'v'lachazikam V'lishlach Lehem Meichar Rafua Shlema Min Hashamayim Rafua HaNefesh V'rov HaGuf Chashta Bagalav Izman Kariv and Omar. Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill, particularly those we have named. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say, Amen. And I would also like to offer a prayer for the healers amongst us who we so desperately need and value. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who put themselves at risk to care for the sick. Physicians and nurses and orderlies, technicians and home health aides, EMTs and pharmacists, hospital social workers and respiratory therapists. And if there are any of those you have loved ones you'd like to mention, please do so.
Barry Raber.
Jenny Hyman, Ross Kroll.
They navigate the unfolding dangers of the world each day to tend to those they have sworn to help. Bless them in their coming home and bless them in their going out. Ease their fear, sustain them, source of all breath, healer of all being, protect them and restore their hope. Strengthen them that they may bring strength. Keep them in health that they may bring healing. Help them know again a time when they can breathe without fear. Bless the sacred work of their hands. May this plague pass from among us speedily and in our days, and let us say, Amen. And so we return the Torah to the Ark. Ki lekach tov natati lachem, Torati al tazovu. Eitz chaim chi lemachasikim ba, v'tomchecha meushar. Derachecha darchei noam, v'chol nativotecha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu kekedem. Well, today is Tu B'Shvat, the new year of the trees, and it's the only real connection that I have for the words I'm going to share with you. The trees will be featured, as you will find out. There's no immediate connection to Yitro, but I think the words are worthwhile on any particular occasion and worth considering. I originally was going to give this a couple of weeks ago when it was Parashat Bo, which brings us the final three plagues, the last of which, the slaying of the Egyptian firstborn, finally persuades Pharaoh to release the children of Israel from their bondage and persecution. But as we know, as they pursue freedom, persecution will not be a thing of the past for Jews. Witness Texas this past weekend. And it is that reality that links Bambi to our recurring history. It's a saccharine, sweet story about a young deer who finds love and friendship in a forest. But the original tale of Bambi, adapted by Disney in 1942, has much darker beginnings as an existential novel about persecution and anti-Semitism in 1920s Austria. Now, a new translation seeks to reassert the rightful place of Felix Salten's 1923 masterpiece in adult literature and shine a light on how Salten was trying to warn the world that Jews would be terrorized, dehumanized, and murdered in the years to come. Far from being a children's story, Bambi was actually a parable about the inhumane treatment and dangerous precariousness of Jews and other minorities in what was then an increasingly fascist world. In 1935, the book was banned by the Nazis, who saw it as a political allegory for the treatment of Jews in Europe and burnt it as Jewish propaganda. Jack Zipes, Professor Emeritus of German and Comparative Literature at the University of Minnesota and translator of the forthcoming book, says, "The darker side of Bambi has always been there." But what happens to Bambi at the end of the novel has been concealed to a certain extent by the Disney Corporation taking over the book and make it into a pathetic, almost stupid film about a prince and a bourgeois family. Salten's novel, Bambi, A Life in the Woods, is completely different. It is a book about survival in your own home. From the moment he is born, Bambi is under constant threat from hunters who invade the forest and attack indiscriminately. They kill whatever animal they want. It soon becomes apparent that the forest animals are living out their lives in fear, and that puts the reader constantly on edge. All the animals have been persecuted. And I think what shakes the reader is that there are also some animals who are traitors, who help the hunters kill. After Bambi's mother is murdered, so is his beloved cousin Gobo, who had been led to believe he was special and the hunters would be kind to him. Bambi is shot too, but survives thanks to the old prince, a majestic stag who treats him like a son and may well be his father. But then sadly the old prince also dies, leaving Bambi utterly bereft. Bambi does not survive well at the end. He is alone, totally alone. It is a tragic story about the loneliness and solitude of Jews and other minority groups. There is a sense at the end that Bambi and all the other wild animals in the forest are merely born to be killed. They know they will be hunted, and they know where they will die. The major theme throughout is, you don't have a choice. Salten, who changed his name from Sigmund Salzmann during his teens to unmark himself as a Jew in Austrian society, earned his main income as a journalist in Vienna. Zipes thinks he could see the direction in which the political winds were blowing. I think he foresaw the Holocaust. He had suffered greatly as a young boy from anti-Semitism, and at that time in Austrian Germany, Jews were blamed for the loss of the First World War. The novel is an appeal to say, no, this shouldn't happen. At one point in the novel, two leaves on a tree discuss why they must fall to the ground and wonder what will happen to them when they do. These leaves talk very seriously about really dark questions humans have. We don't know what is going to happen to us when we die. We don't know why we must die. By writing a story about animals and wildlife, Salten could get past the negative preconceptions and prejudices of many of his readers held about Jews and other minorities. It enabled him to talk about the persecution of the Jews as freely as he wanted to. Without being didactic, he could encourage the reader to feel more empathy towards oppressed groups. And Bambi could openly question the cruelty of their oppressors. Many other writers, like George Orwell, chose animals too, because you're freer to tackle problems that might make your readers bristle. And you don't want them to bristle. You want them to say at the end, this is a tragedy. Importantly, the new translation, which will be published on the 18th of January, tomorrow, by Princeton Press, attempts to convey in English for the first time the way that certain characters in Sultan's novel have a Viennese flair when they talk in German. The animals have wonderful ways of talking, which makes you feel as though you are in a Viennese cafe. And you immediately recognize that they're not talking now how animals talk. These are human beings. By contrast, the original English translation, which was published in 1928, turned down Sultan's anthropomorphism and changed its focus so that it was more likely to be understood as a simple conversation about animals living in a forest. This was the version read by Walt Disney, who loved animal stories. When Germany annexed Austria in 1938, Sultan managed to flee to Switzerland. By then, he had sold the film rights for a mere $1,000 to an American director, who then sold them on to Disney. Sultan himself never earned a penny from the famous animation. Stripped of his Austrian citizenship by the Nazis, he spent his final years, lonely and in despair, in Zurich, and died in 1945, like Bambi, with no safe place to call home. That was a piece that I found in the English newspaper, The Observer, towards the end of December. And it seems to me it's a very interesting and sadly timely and prophetic piece. And I look out at the world today and I really have fears that what he wrote about could happen again, unless good people stand up and resist real forces which are currently with us, becoming a less easy time for Jews, even here in North America. So let us turn to the concluding part of the service, Aleinu, on page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol l'ateit gdula l'yotzeh b'reishit shehu notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz. Sorry, I started on the wrong one there. Let me start that again. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol l'ateit gdula l'yotzeh b'reishit shelo asanu gugayei haratzot v'lo hosamanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam helkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Shehu notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz u'moshav yekaro b'shamayim mima'al u'schinatu zo b'gavhei maromim u'Eloheinu einod. V'ne'ema v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shamo echad. Brief thought before Kaddish. Slowly, with the recitation of the Kaddish and its words of divine praise, piercing the shroud of grief is the realization that it was God who had vouchsafed unto us the lifetime of the departed one, and thus bequeathed us countless precious hours of exquisite love and sublime companionship. Such treasured memories gleaned in the rich harvest of daily living are not destroyed by death, but live on imperishably. Tenderly they minister to aching hearts, these reflections of a life well lived, healing with all the magic of Gilead's balm. Inspiringly they animate the noblest impulses, these memories of a life which cherished lofty ideals. In moments when one is cast down, the Kaddish may raise downcast eyes heavenward, offering the surest consolation, reassuring the mourner that God who taketh away giveth in even greater measure. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous be as a blessing. We are currently in a period of Shloshim for Ray Ann Brackett, Ronald Fratkin, Igor Ilyasov, Rivka Saraf, and Bernard Ben Gerrit Versteeg. Yard sites this week: Cessia Aikenwald, Dan Balin, Jeffrey's father, Sidney Joshua Becker, Anna Bilt, Hannah's mother-in-law, Eva Bregman, Pearl Chalmers, Lee Esquenazi, Ruth Feinberg, Risa Garadanza, Isaac Yitzhak Garfinkel, Elizabeth Gilbert, Michael Heller, Kitty Heller, Alec Holtzberg, Zainuddin Ilyasov, Edith Jaffe, Jean-Louise Jenkins, Maurice Katz, Sol Court, Gerald Crivel, Harry Levin, Jack Levine, Alexander Lipton, Hugh McKinnon, Arthur Maron, Avery Plaw, Ethel Poslans, Elsa Reback, Marian Sadak, Johannes Schipper, Tzvi Schneider, Charles Schom, Clara Siegel, Jack Shapiro, Louis Schiffman, Frank Richard Shalander, Susan Shaw, Judah Shumiacha, Philip Singer, Eliakim Getzel Sudak, George Street, and Mary Tannenbaum. If there are others whose names haven't been mentioned that they would like to mention or are saying Kaddish for the year, we invite you to share names with us. And so together we join those already standing in the mourners' Kaddish. Yet Kadal v'yet Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'alamad ivrach erutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'agalav izman kariv yemaru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam alam el-maya. Yet barach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'ytromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal Shemei d'kodashah barichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alama v'yimaru, Amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru, Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya asei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimaru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel. And together we say, Amen. Boker Tov.